Hello everybody, my name is David. Thank you for watching this video. This video is a general outline of my life story, and this is brought upon and thank you by you guys. You guys have requested this. I've had so many requests over the years to make more videos about myself, about my life. As a lot of you know, I started my channel with like 25 different videos about my life story, and since then I have privatized them. So instead of making them public again, I've decided to simply make a video today kind of outlining my life and my story. Now, I'll leave some out. Please know that although my life is a series of tragedies, I feel really good about them now. I appreciate all of my life's experiences. They have all been valuable lessons and have very much formed who I am today. And I love myself. I love who I am today. So I just would never take anything back or want to redo anything. No regrets. When I talk about my past, I don't feel bad. I feel good. That might be confusing for some of you who have had your own life's tragedies that aren't healed yet, and it might be difficult to understand the place that I'm in now, because I'm going to tell my story and there's not much emotion attached to it anymore. Matter of fact, there's quite a bit I probably have forgotten, in a good way. It's good. So the purpose of this is to not talk about all the bad things that have happened to me. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to list all the bad things that have happened to me. I don't feel it necessary. I will list the bad things that have happened to me to point out connections that I've made with the decisions I've made in my adulthood, and then how I've healed from that. As many of you know who watch my videos, you know that I totally believe that if we have abusive and neglectful relationships in our adulthood, it's a direct result of having abusive and neglectful relationships in our childhood until we heal. We aren't meant to forever. And we don't have to at all if we heal from this right away. Unfortunately, most of us have to. Most of us have to have these bad experiences, these traumatic experiences in our adulthood to force us to get the help, to even just say, hey, you need some help, right? So I'm going to do some of that today. Hopefully this video won't be very long. I've just made a kind of outline form, couple pages. So let's get started. First point I want to show is how I never connected with my parents and how important emotional connection is. It really separates humans into two groups: people who value human connection and people who do not. And this is also a direct result of childhood. People who do not appreciate and value human connection in our adulthood means that they never have. If you've ever had human connection growing up, then you absolutely value it in adulthood, and you need it, and it's an emotional need. And thankfully that is a big difference between us and them, right? Victims and abusers, typically. So I was adopted. Just to start out, I was adopted, and right after I was adopted, my father was in the military, and I moved to Japan and grew up first part of my childhood in Japan. And it was great. I actually have an amazing memory. I can remember an amazing amount of stuff that happened when probably far back as 3 maybe, but 4 for sure, 5. Until I was 5, I had a really nice life, as a baby. I know this, not just remember, but my parents were together. They were a lot healthier, but both of them were busy in their own right. And I was raised by my maid, Manoba-san. And I did not ever emotionally connect with my father or mother. My father does not value that, and my mother was mentally ill. And she was diagnosed with schizophrenia. This is my adopted mother. She was diagnosed with schizophrenia when I was 5 years old. And at that same time, my father left us, all of us, the whole family abandoned us. But I connected with my maid, and that emotional connection allowed me to value it and seek it out again in my life. But I did not connect to my emotional caretakers, my mother and father. Never emotionally connected to them. So this, and I'm going to draw connections. So this is why I dated abusers who did not value emotional connection either. So even though I valued emotional connection, it was still with like my maid, my elderly ladies, neighbors of mine, actually, I would go be friends with and hang out with. Instead of sometimes just my friends, I'd go knock on these ladies' doors that were in their 60s and 70s, and I totally connected with them during the day. They were beautiful to me. They knew what I was going through, and they were there for me. I also really valued emotional connections with my friends growing up, at a really early age. I mean, I could sit on the phone all night with guy friends, you know, in grade school, junior high, connecting with women. I had girlfriends, not just girlfriends, friends that were females too, and valued these connections that I had with all of them. But it wasn't my emotional caretakers. So the girlfriends I dated, my partners that I dated, didn't value emotional connection, and that was familiar, just like my parents. And we emulate what we grow up with. We learn what marriage is and what love is from our parents, and that's what I thought it was. Although I was seeking this kind of connection with them. But since I didn't have it with my parents, I kind of chased them, trying to connect with them. I think a lot of you can identify with that. You know you're not emotionally connected with somebody in your life when you're always trying to get them to understand you, right? And we do that with abusers and narcissists, stuff like that. We constantly try to get them to understand how we feel and what we're going through, how they hurt us so they don't do it again, and they just don't seem to understand or want to. That's no emotional connection. But I did attach. And when you attach to your emotional caretakers starting right at birth, and I did. And I experienced a lot of trauma in my early years of childhood. So like I said, my mother was diagnosed with schizophrenia, and I had a brother 4 years younger than me. So he was 1, I was 5. And before my father left, when I was 5, I also experienced him cheating on my mother. He had extramarital affairs, and he even would take me and my brother along with on these dates, and I even really inappropriate stuff I witnessed. This, I think, later allowed me to accept cheating on me. Now, this has adverse reactions. I might have learned that cheating was okay. That's one thing that a child could get from that. And I think in a sense, I thought it was okay to do to me, but I hated it. I hated it. And from that moment on, I never trusted my father again. And he abandoned us right after that at 5, when I was 5. And I never trusted him again. I never would attach to him again. And I would never connect with him ever in my life. When he abandoned my mother and my brother and I, my mother was so ill, all she could do is lock herself in her bedroom, literally. So either I had no parenting or supervision at all, nor did my brother. We were neglected so bad, I was stealing food out of grocery stores to feed him. So I was immediately parentified, and I always felt sorry for my mom. And this is when I started feeling guilty and ashamed for my feelings, because I also started being embarrassed and ashamed of my mom. And then I would feel bad for that. So I started trying to deny my feelings. Besides that, they were so overwhelmingly traumatic to me, literally, that I couldn't handle it. So I tried to always cut them off. So my mom either locked herself in her bedroom all the time, or she would take my brother and I to these 24-hour daycares in inner city Houston. Houston's a not the greatest city. It's the fourth largest city in the country and has a lot of problems. It's not a very good city. And my mother would drop me off at these 24-hour daycares in inner city Houston. They were awful. And I learned to fight right off the bat. I had to. If I didn't fight, I'd get hurt every day. So I learned to fight and protect myself. I also learned to fight for my brother. I learned to protect my brother and feed my brother. I learned to feel sorry for my mother. I learned to accept nothing from my mother because I never got anything from my mother. No reciprocation whatsoever. And so I learned to, feel sorry for her, to help take care of her, to never get anything in return, never get my emotional needs met, massive neglect, and that helped me neglect myself. So not only did I allow females that I dated to cheat on me, maybe because I saw my dad do it to my mom and thought that that's somewhat okay, not so bad, not a deal breaker, but it was my shame, my low self-worth, and that was very difficult for me to see later in life. Very difficult. I was like, no, I don't have shame. I always think I'm great. I think I'm a great person. And a lot of you guys tell me that when I start talking to you, although you've let people just crap all over you. You're like, no, I don't take anything from anybody. It's like, well, that's contradicting. And that's when we start learning about attachment styles, and attachment trauma. So this went on for several years, and my father took my brother and I back. My father was out of the military. He finished his schooling in his 30s. He was in school till he was in his 30s. And he finished school and got remarried to a new woman and took my brother and I back all in 1 year. I was still a child. I was almost a teenager. And for 1 year, it was great. I got to see what a great, loving family kind of looks like in that first year. I think my father and my stepmother were on cloud nine, pink cloud, this and that. Fun to play family and play house, but my stepmom was only 17 years older than me and could never accept me as her child. She resented me and my brother. And they began having their own family. But before that, I was the overachiever. So my dad pushed me extremely hard. I played every sport. I mean, I'm not kidding. I wrestled, played football, basketball, skiing, tennis, golf, every swimming lesson. I was a lifeguard. Art lessons, acting lessons, every lesson you can think of. They said they wanted me to be well-rounded, but what they wanted me to do is represent the family. They didn't care about anything I wanted. They forced me to do every single thing I did in childhood. It was just arduous. The whole time it was just horrible. And I had developed anxiety problems. I think my mom being so sick is why I dated such sick women sometimes. I think that the low self-worth helped me do that. No reciprocation, like I said. Always felt sorry for her. And then now, here I have this new family, and everything was great, and boy, when they started having their own children, it all changed. Literally all changed. My stepmom rejected me. She abused the hell out of me. Lots of abuse, lots of physical and verbal abuse, mental and emotional abuse. As soon as they started having their own children, my stepmom started hitting me and slapping me and beating me and pushing me. And then when my father would get home, she had a whole different story. David would go up to your room, I'd stay at my room, and she'd tell him things like, I hit her, that I said I hate her, that I said I hate you, my dad, that I hate my dad, that all I want to do is move home to my mom. She was trying to get rid of me in every way she could. My father began kicking me out of the house. His control method for every single thing he wanted me to do was kick me out of the house, kick me out of the house, kick me out. Just zero security. Not just emotional. We're talking physical security. I've been scared of losing my home ever since, until now that I'm healed. I never trusted my father. He was an envious person. He's a cheater. He's a liar. He's unstable. And he has massive judgment. He's envious, and he does it all with a smile on his face, and people love him for his profession, and he looks and is very financially successful, has his own pretty family, and they're all beautiful, and he doesn't even admit that he has boys anymore. So I've been told many times. This allowed me to date more unstable women, like my stepmom. No boundaries. I'll get to, I had two massive abusive relationships. And I'd say two because they're the biggest ones. One was 4 years and one was 10 years in my adulthood. And they both severely physically abused me, which is just, it took me more and more longer to understand, again, attachments. And I was tough. Let me tell you, I told you, I fought my way, you know, to survive throughout my childhood. I grew up in a bad neighborhood, and I had to beat up people just to survive. I started working and managing companies in my adulthood, and I was tough, man. I was tough. I worked really hard, fire people, get into it with people, no problem. But when I attached, I let these girls walk all over me. They would beat me up, tear my clothes up, wreck my belongings, come over whenever they wanted to. They would cheat on me with my best friends. They would tell everyone I was this horrible person and that I'm hitting them and cheating on them. And I can't, that feeling definitely was the same feeling I got as my stepmom used to falsely accuse me of things. And this would resurface, and I found myself always defending myself all the time. So worried about what people thought because I didn't know myself. This rejection from my family, starting at maybe 11, 12 years old, it was just slowly more and more and more rejection until they pushed me out of the house and I left at 17. But I was always looking for acceptance. I had no standards. I had the worst friends, and I'm not saying they were such horrible friends. They were bad people, right? They were violent, they were dangerous, they were criminals, drug addicts, stuff like this. No boundaries at all. And my dad instilled in me a belief system that is all that matters is what I do. All that matters is what I do, from the sports, from the lessons, from grades, to doing my chores, to never speaking up, always agreeing, doing everything, and just yes, 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 okay, 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 just to appease them over and over and over again. I escaped at 17, and there was no way it would ever work out. I even though I'd only seen my parents one more time when I was 23. That's it. Hardly spoke to them at all since I was 17. And they have tried numerous times to get back into my life and to keep abusing me, to keep torturing me, to paint a picture to the rest of the family, my stepsisters, that I'm just this horrible person that comes from nowhere. One of my biggest abuser, the 10-year relationship, never met my family, never met my father at all. And after this 10-year relationship, she went to him and told him that I beat her instead of she beat me, that I had cheated on her instead of she cheated on me. And my father loved it. Loved it, loved it, loved it, and has had the whole family not talk to me since. That's all he needed. That's all he had. He was probably so happy to get that, to have the rest of the family not talk to me anymore. Good. I would never talk to them ever again anyways. So like I said, I had two abusive relationships. One was a 4-year. That ended the same week that I found my mother dead, the schizophrenic mother that I had, my adoptive mother. I found her dead on Thanksgiving, and then found out, it was like 2 days later, that I found out that my girlfriend was cheating on me with my best friend. And that was immensely traumatic, and I felt all I did was make myself feel better for 4 years, and I didn't find out why. I didn't know why this happened. I didn't know how to heal it. I went to therapists. I had a therapist cry. I had therapists tell me they don't know what's wrong with me. They don't know how to fix me. They don't know how to help me. They don't know what this is. There were no YouTube channels out there. There was not much information at all to turn to get the help that I needed. So 4 years later, I did it again. And that's when I got involved with that 10-year relationship and the abusive relationship I was in then. That person destroyed me. That person slowly destroyed me. And I didn't have the self-worth to leave. It was too familiar, like my mother, which I had not healed from. It was too familiar from like my stepmom and my father, which I had not healed from. Okay? And when that ended, I want to say I almost died. You know, not to be too dramatic, but I think I almost died. I think she poisoned me. I think that she wanted me to kill myself. That was a major goal of hers. But anyways, that ended about 10 years ago. And for several years, I didn't know what was wrong with me still. I did everything I could to make myself feel better. And I finally stopped dating. So I finally stopped at least doing the same traumatic thing, the same traumatic experiences I stopped having. And I plugged into work, and I got in the best shape of my life, and I ate well, and I just tried to focus on having good people in my life. But I didn't understand what happened to me. I didn't heal from my past and things like this until I found out. It took to find out information on personality disorders to realize that the people that abused me was called trauma. That they caused me trauma. And this kinds of trauma is what I was suffering from. And it takes me back all the way back to my childhood. And I started regressing. I started learning. I started seeing my whole life as like a movie from beginning to end and completely understood it. You know, I could describe the mountain, you know, because I got off of it. I got out of it. My brain started relaxing finally. I could start sleeping better. I started trusting people more. And I understood a lot what relationships are and emotional needs and how they're healthy. And then I started finally trying again. And I started dating again. And I never dated a toxic person or people that abused me ever again. And it's been years since I've had anybody abuse me. And I'm not scared of it. I don't have to trust anybody. I trust myself. I am in such a good place now. Anxiety serves me a great deal. If I ever get anxious, I can't ignore it anymore, and I fix it. I have less fears. I'm confident from having positive experiences over the years now. Helping you guys, I've learned so much more. I started plugging myself into my work dramatically, I would say about 6 years ago, and I've just learned so much, and that's how I have all this information that I know. Is I've sat in lectures in different colleges around the world, most of it online. I started to try and understand all, you know, psychology and you know, there's so much related in psychology. It's amazing. So one thing would just lead me to another, that lead me to another, that led me to another, and I started being able to coach people better. The first year I started coaching people was about 4 years ago or so, 5 years ago, something like that. And I did it for 13 months for free. And wow, was that an experience. Wow, did I learn. My gosh. But I just keep learning more and more and more, and I keep finding out ways to help people better and faster. Not having the help that we need is more damaging. Going to somebody to help us that can't help us 100% or as fast as somebody else could is damaging. So I've been able to understand a lot of this really well to better help you guys. That's my story. I've left a ton out. I didn't want to be down and talk about all these bad things because I don't need to. I feel so good about the things that happened to me, about my own choices, my own failures still. I've learned so much, and that is the point of all of this, is there's just so much to learn, and we can keep learning. I keep learning, and so we keep learning till we die. And it took for me to believe that I'm worth it, and to believe I'm worth it, I had to start doing it. That's why I encourage all of you so much to get the help that you need. okay? You can't do this by yourself. It's more damaging. And if you can't do something by yourself, always ask for help. I can't stress enough how much it helps people. I can take 5-6 years of my suffering away from people by giving them the help that they need within a month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months. And there's no need to go on and on and on for more years. You keep making these choices, and these experiences keep repeating themselves, it is extremely damaging, and it knocks your self-worth down to where you'll never get out of the next one. Life is beautiful, okay? And if you think of life as a tree, and we do everything we can to grow that tree, to make it healthy and happy, and what we get is the fruits from that tree. Your abusers will never get that. And the more that you heal and learn and get away from people like this, the better chance you have to yield a harvest of fruit, have a fruitful life with loving, growing, healthy, functional relationships with other healthy people that are beautiful. We are all meant to be beautiful people. And if you don't feel it, let's start changing our life and become the beautiful people we are all meant to be. Okay? All right? I think a lot of you wanted me to dive more into some of the abuse. I don't mind at all. I really don't mind at all. I didn't want to make this video all about that. I wanted to have something more for you guys to relate to, not just the pain, but the future, hope. Okay, what's out there? I'm telling you that CPTSD and PTSD are healable. I'm telling you that we are all lovable, but it starts in here, and we have to love what's in here so that others can too. That's the fruit I'm talking about of life. So please, anybody, ask me any questions you want down in the description box, my weekly Q&A videos. Ask me any personal questions you have. I don't mind at all sharing, being open at all. It's just I've healed from all this stuff, so I don't need to do it. I just don't mind. Okay? Thanks, guys. Thank you, all of you, for being interested and asking about my personal life. I really try to make this channel for you. This is your channel. And so the information I provide is to help you. The time that I give to make the videos is to help you. And so, but I do appreciate the questions, the personal questions that you guys have had and the interest you've had in my life. Thank you. Thank you very much. One thing I've learned is to love myself and to do it first before I love others. And if I could get that across to you guys to begin doing stuff like that, then my job's done. Success. Thank you, all of you guys. Love yourself first, and I'll see you again.